What's up, Weekend Warriors? To a special edition of the pod. I was going to wait till week one matchups, but, I need to put a little 2023 hype video together and mix it up with a little draft recap. I just had too much content. I didn't want to squeeze it all into one episode. And let's face it, we're all starving for fantasy content. I can't stop talking about fantasy football. I just talked to Brett and Pearson a little bit ago. They both said they looked at the app about 120 times, just checking the team, just making sure, seeing how they're doing, seeing how the little guys are doing. So I figured, give you guys a little sneak peek for the weekend, give you a recap of last year, and then we'll do a little draft insight from the commish. So first and foremost, okay, a 2022 year review, all right? Our champion is Chris Ballone in our 17th season of the Weekend Warriors. Congratulations, Ballone. He got to name Pearson's team, who came in last. And I believe the name is, let me make sure I get this right, Born Loser, Deadbeat Dad. Rough one from Ballone. But he had the honors, and now coming into our 18th season, it's a clean slate. It's anybody's game. Ballone is the champ, but, as we've seen in this league, you can't live in the past. So we've moved on. We've turned the page. It's a new season now today. Speaking of last year, the Turnersville Sportsbook. Not a banner year for the Turnersville Sportsbook. We finished 14, 19, and 1 in our NFL picks. There's room for improvement there, folks. And I'm going to come out hot this year. I'm going to be making some people money on this podcast. So you take a look, you take a listen, you open up your account, and you lift about $40 from your mom's purse, and you put it in the FanDuel Sportsbook, and you bet it on my picks. Now, fantasy picks. I'm always pretty good at those. The year prior, I was 59%. 42 and 36 last year. It's a 54%. We aim for above even. We did that. There's room for improvement there as well. So, storylines. There's so many storylines heading into the 2023 season. You got Chris T, who was a play away last year with the DeMar Hamlin circus and everything that happened there. He's still in search of his first championship and is now his 18th season. We got Otley, who was the only member of the league that's ever won the league 3 times. And as Pearson would say, the last time he won, car still had wooden wheels. Otley knows the pressure's on. He's resorted back to auto drafting. He was drafting from the tee box. He was trying to lay down a bunt in Little League, and he had one hand on the bat, one hand on the phone, making some picks. So last time he won, he auto drafted from SeaWorld. Now he's trying to mix it up a little bit, trying to get back to relevancy. Speaking of back to relevancy, Pearson, 2 years in a row, last place, down in the dumps, not the same fantasy experience he's been used to. When I pulled that ping pong ball out and gave him the number 1 pick, he was a dead body on a table. And a bolt of lightning went through his body when I threw him that ping pong ball. And he Frankensteined his way up. And now he is a fantasy Frankenstein. I think there's a little life there in Pearson, and I think there's some rejuvenation happening. Speaking of teams looking for their first championship, Dean had the Harding Dynasty Part 2 as his name last year. It did not come to fruition. I won the year prior, but then Ballone won. So the Harding legacy did not carry on. So some storylines. There's some others, but I'll get to them. We're going to talk draft recap. We're going to go in order of the draft. So Pearson first pick. He's back. Let me just get to the screen here, but I really, really, really like his first 3 picks. Jefferson, the stability with Henry, and then the breakout potential in Garrett Wilson. Then he has Dameon Pierce, who is a hot pick. Late in the 4th round he got him. It's a great number 2. Now, I am not a Browns supporter this year. I totally see the narrative where Deshaun bounces back. He's got the hookup with Amari Cooper. If that comes to fruition, Pearson is going to be close to unbeatable and will shoot his way up to the top of the standings. I am on the negative side of the Browns, but we'll see what happens. He also has some nice later picks with some guys that, could pop between Charbonnet and Warren, Michael Thomas, the ghost of Michael Thomas. So I'm not giving out grades, but I'm very happy with his team. I really do think, I'm half joking, half serious, but I think this is going to get Pearson kind of back in it. Pretty soon he's going to be doing fantasy tennis, guys, because he's just going to have a good season this year. The league is better when PP is relevant. Let's see if he watches a podcast this year. All right, moving on. The number 2 pick was my dad. Dean, a little bit of a curveball, not a McCaffrey fan. He burned him in the past. He went with Eckler. Not Chase, not McCaffrey. He went with Eckler. He has very, very, very solid running backs. My dad said this was something he wanted to focus on early in the draft. He got Eckler, ETN, and Aaron Jones. Also, Swift as a running back 4 is pretty good. He got his quarterback in Joe Burrow. He's a little weak at receiver. His number 1, obviously, fantastic, CeeDee Lamb. He's going to need Baker to get the ball to Godwin. He's going to need Anthony Richardson to get the ball to Pittman. But we know receivers pop up. He already went in and got DJ Chark off the wire. So if he makes a few good pickups, I do think he has a solid, balanced team. Not my strategy. You saw my strategy. We'll get to that later. Kind of 0 RB. He went the other way. But we'll see if it works out for Dean here in year 18. Terry, the runner-up to me 2 years ago, looking to bounce back here in 2023. Christian McCaffrey at 3rd overall is a really good place to start. Josh Allen, he won a quarterback. He got his quarterback this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, PPR monster, good pick. Jared Goff likes him, so I think that's a good value there. Darren Waller, somebody I do like at the tight end position. Just don't ask Brett about him. And then some wide receiver depth here beyond Amon-Ra and Debo with Mike Williams, Jordan Addison. Another team that I think is really balanced. Terry is always relevant, always in the hunt. And, I'd say Pearson's probably my favorite team so far, but I do like Terry's team as well. Moving on to the champion. It's a really bold name, Valone, but you've earned it. Really, really solid Jamar Chase, Tony Pollard, Chris Olave, first 3 picks. And then goes Ramondre and Justin Herbert, Ayuk, Goddard, Khalil Herbert, a lot of Herberts here. Zay Flowers, he's buying the hype on a lot of these guys that are getting hyped up. He's got a couple guys I like. I love Chris Olave, personally. I love Tony Pollard. I love Jamar Chase. It's hard not to love him. This team's good. I think he built a solid foundation. And look out for Valone. He's been pretty good. Well, his first year, he started out rough, real strong end of the season to kind of propel himself into the future season here last year to get that W. So I really do like Valone's team as well. Get CTE or die trying. Chris, my text with Chris, he blacked out. He did not give any players in the draft that he wanted. He had a plan, he got punched in the mouth, he forgot his plan, and he went rogue. I will say, this is not my favorite team that Chris has drafted. And I'm like, damn, Chris has a good team after the draft. And then usually it falls off. Last year I said he is probably the best team after the draft, and look where that took him. This year I'm not so enthused. I love Kelsey. He wanted to get Kelsey and Mahomes. He said his strategy was, well, Otley didn't let him do that. We'll talk about that later. Josh Jacobs is a steal at the end of the second round, or middle to end of the second round. He's got Waddle, but then he's got Breece Hall coming off injury. Chris said he forgot he had a torn ACL, so this is part of his blacked out experience. He always had a scary Terry. Dobbins, I don't love Dobbins. And then he has Tua as his number 1. Chris is known for having high-end quarterbacks. Last year, Josh Allen carried him to the finals. But now he goes with Tua, which he's fine. He's partnered with Jalen Waddle, but he is not a top quarterback in fantasy. And he has Brock Purdy, who Chris might have some inside information on Brock Purdy, because I wasn't expecting him to get drafted. Chris, I play you week 1. I don't want to put the kiss of death on myself. I call it as it is. This is not my favorite team of yours. Your team name is Elite, by the way. Hopefully that doesn't happen to Tua. But of the teams I've read so far, this is definitely not my favorite. Watson's Bath and Spa. Turns out Jake had the same strategy as I did. He just took running backs a little bit earlier than I did. Starting out with Tyreek and Devontae and Lamar. People love Lamar. I'm not a Lamar fan. All this Todd Monken stuff and opening up the passing. I got a piece of it with Mark Andrews because I didn't want to miss the boat. That's my red flag. I have to get a piece of something. But Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. That is sick. It's absolutely sick. And then he's got Madison, Akers, and Connor. Evans to round out that wide receiver crew. Pat Freiermuth. This is a good team. I really like what Jake did. This is kind of my strategy. Was late round running back this year, not zero RB. Read about it. Ask Rich Dot. He did it 15 years ago when it was probably not good. Apparently, this is the year to do it. We'll see how it works out. I like Jake's team very much on paper. And Jake's kind of due for a bounce back. He had a bad season in baseball. Didn't have a great season last year in football. Jake is a fantasy, in my opinion, juggernaut. He needs to put himself back on the map. This might be the year. Pearson's father, Kevin. Not my favorite draft. I've seen Kevin. He's a two-time champion. A lot of times I'd leave the draft not liking Kevin's team. And half of the time he does well, and half the time he does not so well. But when I texted him, and he said he also didn't think he had a very good draft. He reached for Jalen Hurts, but he got his guy, and he partnered with Devonta Smith. That's sick. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I almost picked him. I couldn't pass up on Mark Andrews' value, but I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. I can't get over the London Pitts, two pass catchers on that Falcons offense. I think that's going to limit your upside. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, hot pick, excellent receiver. If he can separate himself and get targets in that offense. Sky Moore, another guy I like that has potential with Mahomes. And some safe guys there with Miles Sanders and Christian Kirk. Not my favorite team. Kevin's always finds a way to make, trades and kind of improve his situation. We'll see what happens with Kevin. The Catalina wine mixing. Bert, I will say, the jersey that I'm wearing, and I haven't took this off since the draft, by the way. Cup, injured, setback, not where I would have picked him, but he's high risk, high reward. That could set Brett back if he is injured to start the season or a lingering thing. Barkley, Mixon, Najee. Talk about running backs. He's got running back stability, safety, and upside there. And then he went to the moon upside with Fields. Picked him right under my nose. If he does not have Kupp, his wide receivers are suspect. Hopkins, Deontay, Sutton. Those are good stabilizing factors and players that I think will pair well with Kupp, but I'm not sure that they will carry the load. So he needs Cooper Kupp. I like Brett's team. Again, against my strategy, I don't like to take injured players early, and I don't like to take running backs early this year, but it could be proven wrong. We'll see. Myself, personally, did not love the 9 position. Stuck to my strategy. 4 wide receivers and a tight end, first 5 picks, and then a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence was the last quarterback that I was okay drafting in this draft. It was kind of Herbert, Fields, Lawrence for me, and where I was at, I had to take Lawrence or I wasn't going to get anybody on the way back. So I need Javonte to be healthy. I said it at the draft. I've never seen a guy recover this quickly since AP. That does not mean I think this guy's going to be AP. I think he is a freak. I think Sean Payton wants to run the ball. I think he could be a steal in the 7th round. Taking a chance on Kamara. Worst case, he catches the ball. I got Javonte, Kamara, Dalvin Cook, and Antonio Gibson. Last year, I would have had 3 first-round picks or 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick. So I know things change quickly in the NFL. I'm banking on getting some stability from those backs and finding some other guys later in the wire. We will see. I also have a love infatuation with Tank Bigsby. So hopefully he will answer my phone calls. And that brings me to Ott. We joked around. He wasn't at the draft. No one wants to win more than Otley. He is definitely a fanatic like the rest of us. He said he wanted to go 0 RB, and then Bijan fell into his lap. Could not pass up. But I texted him. He already spent fab. He said, you draft injured players, you got to get out of the gate hot. I need to spend fab. I respect that. Johnny Taylor, 6th round, could win out the draft. If he comes back week 5 and he's Johnny Taylor, he could win Otley the draft. But until then, he's going to have to rely on James Cook, maybe some guys like Christian Watson and Tyler Lockett and Marquise Brown can kind of maybe give him some stability. Christian Watson, he's a little volatile like Ridley. We'll see what happens. But you got Patrick Mahomes. Last year in the finals, it was Chris versus Chris. And one had Mahomes and one had Allen. So it is important to have a quarterback in this league. Otley, again, not my strategy. I want to take Taylor's pretty much off my board. I don't want to mess with that. I wouldn't have taken Mahomes out earlier, and I wouldn't personally have taken Bijan. But looking at his team, I think that he has definitely upside. That's what I would say. So, again, the commish, giving you my opinions. I'm going to give you one more thing to take with you, and this is because this line is going to change. And I am for the people, and I don't give out picks normally on a freaking draft post recap show. But it's my show. I do what I want. So, go in right now. Use your little fingers. Go in the app. The line is going to move. Let me give you a stat. I have it written down on my notepad. The Chiefs, in week 1, since 2017, have scored 42, 38, 40, 34, 33, and 44. Their line currently sits at 30.5 for their team total at home against Detroit. Patrick Mahomes will hit that number. It will go up. Go get 30.5 right now. Gentlemen, I will be back in a few days for the predictions. We are less than a week away from NFL action. It is an honor to share the battlefield with you all, and I will see you soon. The commission's out.